If I told you that there was a city that slaves built with their blood, sweat, and tears, but today even its name has been erased from the face of the earth, would you believe it? This was a city that was once considered a symbol of power, wealth, and architecture. But the dust of time swallowed its pillars, and history quietly forgot it. Today we will uncover the secret of this lost city. But the question is, in which city was that? According to ancient traditions, this city was built in the middle of the desert, a place where life was not possible. It is said that thousands of slaves worked day and night, so that the king's dream could come true. Huge stone castles, marble streets, and a market shining with gold. All these were the glory of this city. People called it the City of Lights, but for the slaves it was a hell of darkness. Every brick was a cry and every pillar a story of sacrifice. This city was built on the orders of a king who wanted to be immortal. He ordered the slaves to build a city that would never be destroyed. The slaves hammered on the stones day and night, their hands bleeding, but they had to carry out the order. It is said that the city gates were made of gold, and they scattered light at night, but no one knew how many screams were buried behind these lights. These slaves were captured from different nations, some in wars, some in the name of trade. They were forced to work in exchange for food and tortured for disobedience. But these same hands built the city whose praise echoed for centuries. Their names were never written on a tablet, but their sweat was absorbed into every stone. Perhaps that is why their souls continued to wander there even after the city fell. The city achieved a greatness in a few decades that perhaps even Egypt or Babylon could not. Palaces of kings, musical bazaars, and bridges over rivers. Everything was an example of perfection. Traders from all over the world would come there and marvel at the buildings built by slaves. It was a time when power and pride had overshadowed reason, and as all pride must come to an end, the city was about to fall. Nature was the first to take revenge. The land began to dry up, the rivers stopped flowing, and the city's radiance began to fade. The slaves who once carved stones now craved a drop of water. The kings considered it a minor problem, but nature was silently preparing for revenge. This was the moment when the first chapter of the decline was written. When the oppression became too much, the fire of hatred flared up in the hearts of the slaves. In the darkness of the night, they took up arms, and the city they had built was reduced to ashes. This rebellion was not just for freedom, but revenge for centuries of suffering. But alas, history wrote this rebellion as treason, and their names were erased again. The slaves won, but their story was lost. After the rebellion, the monarchy was weakened. Enemy nations seized the opportunity. One attack after another, and the marble gates of the city were reduced to ashes. The fire burned everything that was once considered pride. Those who survived, they fled, and thus the city was empty. Time covered it with soil, and the city was buried under the earth. According to some historians, the real cause of the decline was the arrogance of the rulers. They could not hear the cries of the slaves, and the hunger of the people was meaningless to them. When power is blind, decline is inevitable. Perhaps if they had valued their workers, this city would still be alive today. But there is no place for maybe in history. It is said that some of the slave builders of the city escaped to other empires. Their hands also shaped the castles and monasteries there. A strange pain was reflected in their work, as if every stone was telling a story of the past. This is why historians still recognize a common architectural style in these monuments. It is as if that lost city is still alive in their art. In the 19th century, some archaeologists discovered strange pillars in a deserted valley. They had strange inscriptions carved on them, as if a slave had written while shouting. Research revealed that this was the same lost city that was mentioned in old traditions, but surprisingly, no name has been found for this city, perhaps because the names of its builders have never been preserved. According to experts, this city came into existence about 4,000 years ago. Artifacts found underground indicate its extensive social system, but the surprise is that no written record has been found, as if history has deliberately forgotten it. Some say that this city was in Africa, others believe that it was in South Asia, but the truth is still buried in the sand. Some historians believe that this city is actually a metaphor for the collective memory of slaves, a metaphor that reminds us of power, injustice, and the exploitation of labor. This city may be real or symbolic, but its story seems true, because in every era in the world, there have been cities that were built by the weak and occupied by the strong. This story is not from the past, but also from today. This city teaches us that when power is devoid of mercy, civilizations disappear. Slavery, injustice, and pride, these are the poisons that destroy any empire. Behind every rise, there is exploitation by someone or other. If we do not learn from history, we too may become the lost city of a future era. And a future historian will tell our story in the same way. Investigations reveal that this city was located on the banks of a large river. Around it were fields, gardens, and temples with pictures of slaves on the walls. But after the decline, the river dried up and the earth swallowed everything. All this teaches us one lesson. No construction against nature lasts long, be it a city, an empire, or pride. When the workers touched these stones during the excavation, they felt a strange sensation, as if some old voices were trapped inside them. One expert said, "This is not a city, it is a collective memory." The bricks that once bore the marks of slaves, hands still echo with screams today. Under every rubble of history lies the story of a human being. If you think about it, even today there are many cities in the world that were power built by the powerful on the shoulders of the weak. The only difference is that today's slaves are not in chains, but in need. The same system, the same injustice, only the faces have changed. This lost city reminds us that when progress is based on oppression, it does not last long. Time takes everything except lessons. History remembers the names of kings, but forgets the hands that made history. Is a person recognized by his crown or by his sweat? This question weighs heavily on every era. The slaves who built the city have no names today, but the traces of their art remain. And this is their real victory. If that city were to be excavated from the ground again today, would we build it the same way again? Or would we build a new city based on justice, humanity, and equality? This video is not just a story of the past, but a test of our conscience. Because in every era, some slave is still alive. The question is, which side do we stand on? That city may have disappeared, but the labor of its workers still resonates in the stones. Its bricks echo. Power is temporary, but justice is eternal. If we do not understand this lesson of the past, our fate will be the same. Because history does not remain silent, it takes account of every injustice. So tell me, do you think that city is really lost? Or are we all living examples of it in a new form?